Hello there, this is Cool Talk Talks, talking again about the Will Smith smacking Chris Rock incident. I learned a few things since then, and this includes hundreds of millions of dollars. Turns out that Will Smith owns a chunk of Westbrook Studios, valued at $600 million. He has some projects coming up. A film called Emancipation. It's a $100 million film to be shown on Apple TV. He has an action thriller to be shown on Netflix, a remake of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Kevin Hart, and part 2 of a travel series for National Geographic on Disney+. So there's a lot on the line here. Now, in the past, a lot of people have been saying that this has been brewing for a long time, as if there have been bad blood between Chris Rock and Will Smith. Well, I looked into it, and fill me in, because when I did my homework, I found one incident in 2016 where Will Smith and Jada Smith decided to boycott the Oscars. Chris Rock told a joke, basically that Jada wasn't invited, and that was about it. I haven't found anything since then about Chris Rock ragging on the Smiths. So let me know if I missed anything. That was 6 years ago. Now, Will Smith said that he has a good old boy persona that he calls Uncle Fluffy. It's a kind of a nice guy, an image, a facade that he's created for himself. He uses it when he deals with stress. Sometimes the facade drops, and he says that he can be sweet, 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 and suddenly he turns sour, sour, sour. When Will Smith was filming the movie Ali, Paul Rodriguez, the comedian, was going to play, or did play, Dr. Ferdy Pacheco. That's Muhammad Ali's doctor. And it turned out that while they were in Africa, the real-life Ferdy Pacheco showed up. Paul Rodriguez had spoken to Ferdy Pacheco and kind of made a comment that his part was kind of minimal. He didn't have a lot of lines. Well, Ferdy Pacheco went ahead and started screaming at Will Smith, saying a lot of racial things, many insults. Went away. Will Smith was very, very upset, understandably so. But he took it out on Paul Rodriguez. Now, I can understand that happening for one day, but as it turns out, for the rest of the filming, Paul Rodriguez said it was a living hell to be there insulted by Will Smith every day. You can look this up. It's on YouTube, Paul Rodriguez telling this story himself. So Will Smith does have a mean streak. Will Smith had hit it big when he was a rapper back in the early 1990s and then getting his TV show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He made his transition to the big screen, cultivated a wholesome image, Uncle Fluffy, the amiable persona. He said that Uncle Fluffy paid the bills. Well, the facade worked. He was very well liked, bringing in 8 films in a 10-year period that garnered over $100 million each. For 25 years, he could do no wrong. Independence Day, Men in Black, I Am Legend, and so on. Now in his 50s, he's relaxed a little bit. The box office has dropped a little, but he's still doing pretty well. Got a nomination for The Pursuit of Happiness, along with Ali. And he decided to step back a little bit and cultivate the careers of his children, Willow and Jaden. Unfortunately, before he had even started filming the movie King Richard, Will and Jada decided to open up. Their relationship was transparent. And Jada had this talk show, the Red Round Table, where she, her mother, and daughter discussed matters about fitness, race, gender, sex, and her intimate relationship with Will. Now, Geoffrey Chaucer, back in the 14th century, said, "Familiarity breeds contempt." He wasn't wrong. The more they know of you, the less they like you. People learned about Uncle Fluffy and the sour one that Will Smith calls the General. The Smiths had donated a lot of money to causes backed up by Scientology, but later on backtracked and said that they were not Scientologists. Jada said that she was pregnant with her son Jaden when they got married. She said that publicly, she never wanted to get married and that it was an unconventional relationship, that they were both free to do as they pleased. Will Smith in a radio show said that he used to get insanely jealous over Jada's friendship with Tupac Shakur. They were friends since before he had hooked up with her. And the shadow of Tupac has always fallen over the Smith family. Tupac's tough rapper image versus Will Smith's soft hip-hop image. Jada very well has loved Tupac like a brother, but by constantly bringing him up over the years, speculation continues to brew. She threw out a mention of Tupac on Instagram when he would have turned 50. Daughter Willow, as a child, wrote a letter to Tupac asking him to come back so mommy wouldn't be sad. She posted this letter later on. So what's a guy to think? Now, on top of all that, Jada then got involved with rapper August Alsina, another rapper, a tough image rapper. 20 years younger than her and Jaden, their son's friend. All true. Now, she and Will were separated at the time, but still, this is embarrassing. To make matters worse, she invited Will to appear at the Red Round Table show, where they discussed publicly the whole matter. Now, Will seemed near tears, a broken man. Jada justified herself, saying that August had come to her in a moment of emotional distress and he needed help. And that she herself wasn't happy, that she hadn't felt good in a long time, and that August made her feel good. She called this affair an entanglement. And she says that she is not sorry for her transgression because that she learned so much about herself. She learned that nobody could make her happy, that she was responsible for her own happiness. And well, Will kind of just sat there, and it ended with his saying that he was with her to the end, that this was no deal breaker. They were stuck together. Well, right after that came the attacks, whether they were radio commentators, people all over the internet. It's one thing when a couple privately work through their problems, but to air it publicly only adds fuel to the fire. And if you share your information with millions of people, you invite millions of opinions. Men in particular don't understand why Will didn't just kick her to the curb. This invited criticism and ridicule. Will Smith, in promoting his book, was on Oprah, and he used the opportunity to try some damage control, and it said that he would always support Jada spiritually and emotionally. This didn't help. Will also embrace his 53-year-old body. I think he still looks good for his age. He no longer has the physique that he had when he was in his 20s, but he was trying to make us see that, look, I'm an average Joe. I'm just like you. The Uncle Fluffy facade. And finally, we come to King Richard. Will Smith is riding high, awards galore. A successful film both artistically and financially, but he was near a breaking point. At the British Film Awards, the BAFTA, he won Best Actor, and presenter Rebel Wilson joked that Will Smith's best performance ever was acting like he didn't care about all of Jada's lovers. That was a very low blow, but Will wasn't there to pick up the award or to slap Rebel Wilson. The Smiths did arrive on the red carpet at the SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, where he also won Best Actor. Journalist Laverne Cox spoke to the Smiths on the red carpet, and she said, "We can't wait for another red table and more entanglements." Now, Jada smiled awkwardly and said there would be no more entanglements. Will Smith kept his Uncle Fluffy together, and he didn't slap Laverne. Finally, on Oscar night, Regina Hall publicly, on stage, said that we need some people to get COVID tested again. And she called on Will Smith, saying that she had already spoken to Jada and that Jada had approved. Will laughed. He was still Uncle Fluffy. And finally, we come to Chris Rock, who joked with the audience and then said to Jada, "Jada, love you. G.I. Jane too. Can't wait." Will laughed again, but apparently he must have looked over at Jada, who was hurt and rolling her eyes. And finally, Uncle Fluffy was put away. And you all know the drill. He walked on stage, slapped Chris Rock across the face, sat down, and screamed at him. Now, I would have loved to have seen the interaction between the couple after Will laughed the first time. Did he get a side glance from Jada? Did he feel that Jada perhaps hated Uncle Fluffy, and so he put Uncle Fluffy away? I think that if it had just been Chris Rock's joke, everything would have been all right. But after seeing his masculine pride being pulled away throughout the year, after being ridiculed in countless memes and called out not just by radio personalities, but even presenters at all these shows, he snapped. And it was Chris Rock who was in his way. Now, you probably know that Jada suffers from alopecia, which is a disorder that causes hair loss. So she decided to just shave her head. Now, Chris Rock says that he didn't know that, and maybe he didn't. However, some say that Chris Rock and the Smiths are friends. And if they are friends, I find it hard to believe that he didn't know. So either he is lying or they're not such good friends. Now, Jada is still a very attractive woman, hair or no hair. She's over 50. Now, Chris Rock is not completely blameless in all of this. Now, I personally feel the joke wasn't all that bad, mostly because it seemed that Jada had pretty much embraced her look. And even if the joke was bad, Will Smith could have told his wife, "Honey, we'll deal with this later, I love you," or taken her outside to get some air, or get her a drink, or even Jada could have just given Chris Rock the finger. I don't know, off camera. But anyway, Will Smith decided to act on it. And here's where I do blame Chris Rock for a few things. Now, Chris Rock somehow got it together and decided to just give out the award for Best Documentary. He announces the nominees for Best Documentary, mispronounces one name, and introduces the others as three white guys. Now, it was really two white guys, Questlove and an Asian. And the Asian felt insulted. And I felt bad for them because they all had to stand there in front of the audience. The audience wasn't even listening. They were on their phones, receiving or sending tweets, while this group was tearfully making their little speeches. And what I find bizarre is that when Questlove walked by to get his award, Will Smith happily stood up to embrace him, minutes after slapping Chris Rock and screaming and yelling, "Uncle Fluffy was back." But I'm going to excuse Chris Rock's mistake in not reading out the nominees' names, considering that he held it together pretty well, much better than I would have. He seemed still in shock, confused, bewildered, and he walked Questlove and the others off the stage. Now, what's funny to me is that whenever you go to a party and somebody gets drunk, gets really angry, and slaps somebody, the aggressive one leaves the party in a huff, and everybody stays behind to comfort the victim. Here, Will Smith refused to leave the audience even when the security guards asked him to leave, and people were around comforting him. Now, my whole monologue was to understand what triggered Will Smith, in an effort to not justify what he did, but to kind of get an idea of what he was going through. Now, slapping somebody over a tasteless joke is a crime. It is assault. It's against the law. And there are those that are signing petitions in Los Angeles to get Will Smith arrested because they feel that everyone should fall under the same standard, regardless of whether or not Chris Rock wants to press charges. The LAPD could still pick Will Smith up. Well, Will Smith won Best Actor, and the audience actually gave him a standing ovation, and he went up there, thanked a bunch of people, and he apologized to the Academy and his fellow nominees. But his apology was a little half-hearted. He made an apology, but then started explaining himself and how love makes you do crazy things. Wanda Sykes says that Chris Rock had reached out to her. Wanda Sykes was one of the hostess, and she says that they had worked really hard to put this show together. It was the first Oscar show that was produced by an entire black staff. So she said they had worked hard, and that Chris Rock had called to apologize, feeling that he was one of the ones that ruined her night. She said, "No, Chris Rock, it wasn't your fault." Now, I don't know if Will Smith has reached out to her. Will Smith did come out the next day on Instagram and put out a very, very nice apology. He covered all the bases, whether it was him or Instagram, I don't know. Whether it was him or his publicist on Instagram, I don't know. Whatever the case may be, he also resigned from the Academy, which means he won't come back. He can't vote or participate in any of the screenings. Jada is free to come. Will Smith can still be nominated. Now, the Academy could still discipline Will Smith further. Will they take his Oscar away? I don't think so. If it's taken away, what do they do with it? Give it to the second runner-up? Will that person even want it? So I think it's safe to say that he will get to keep it. But there are a lot of lessons here to learn. Number one, do not expose your dirty laundry to the public. If you're looking for goodwill, you won't get any. Number two, be careful how you joke around. You could get smacked. 3, violence is not the answer. If that had been you or me, we would have been in jail. So anyway, as I was saying, hundreds of millions of dollars are at stake, especially on Will Smith's side. Chris Rock, on the other hand, his concerts have sold out and ticket prices have gone up. So we'll see how this plays out. This is not going anywhere soon. But in the meantime, tell me what you think. Send me some likes. Tell me if you disliked it. Comment below, or better yet, subscribe. This is Cool Talk Talks.